I'm waiting for the song. I'm waiting for the song.
There's no song.
I thought you were gonna put the entrance song.
I was waiting.
Dun, dun, dun. That's what we just agreed to this 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
No.
Hey, it's Talia.
And Karen here. We're two best friends telling our story without unnecessary entertainment. Just the straight truth.
No smoke, just mirrors. We talk reflection, relationships, and the rigor of knowing your truest self.
Right. Welcome to episode 3. Woo!
Pat on the back.
Okay, let's pat you on the back. Welcome to episode 3, guys. We're so excited to have you here again. We're in a new scene, also a new just part of my apartment. So welcome to the couch. Let's give that a round of applause. Follow us on social if you haven't already, but we're really so thankful for all your support. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pod. Just please give us some likes, notifications, some reviews, actually. We're in the hunt for some reviews. If you like the content, let us know what you think, good or bad. We're really just so accepting of any sort of support that we can get. But you know what? IG has been popping as of late.
Which is good. I mean,
I love IG.
it's been great posts. I mean, anybody who has any suggestions of what you want to hear, you're more than welcome to reach out. That's why we have the IG for, as well as YouTube. So you can just let us know what you want to hear, what we want to talk about, what topics is kind of on your mind.
Let us know.
And we'll just dish it out.
Now, we just did something completely different where we didn't introduce ourselves. I'm Karen.
How dare us?
This is
I'm Talia.
And we're the two hosts of No Smoke, Just Mirrors. If you haven't been with us, welcome. This is a podcast of self-reflection, self-discovery, and really we're just here to talk the shit. We're two besties ourselves, so thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that you endure in this content to date.
Isn't that great?
It is.
We can just talk it out.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, so tell us what we're talking about today.
I
Let's
mean,
get to the nuts
there's a
of the
theme
shit.
going on that's been like, I've been hearing from a lot of different groups. And it seems to be like, who are you in a relationship? Which is a nice question, but that's not like, how do you function in a relationship in a way? You know, what do you, your do's and your don'ts, I think.
Okay.
How about
Yeah,
that?
I have to say I've been just on a trend of talking about this with different people, friends, family, even acquaintances randomly the other day. And for whatever reason, it's in the air, so we need to bring it to y'all. That's how we feel. That's how this goes. We kind of don't really have a plan other than what do you want to talk about for the day, and then let's talk. So rightfully so, I totally agree. We haven't necessarily hit this because it's a very in-depth discussion. There's so many levels to relationships. And given that we're in the season of relationships, season 2, I have to say that I think we're in a good place. We kind of talked a little bit about media before. We also talked about our relationship as besties and the lowdown of that. I actually got a lot of feedback about that. But
Did you?
that's episode 1. So if you haven't listened to it, go ahead and listen to it or view it on YouTube. It's one for the books. I think that's going to go down in history for being the most honest episode to date. So,
Which is how we want it to be. I mean,
yeah. So then you're right. So back to the whole point, who we are in a relationship. What do you mean though? Like, because that can mean a bunch of shit, right? So do you want me to define who I am? Like, what kind of partner I am?
Like, are you jealous? Are you the one that just like, is it me or nothing? You know, I don't know.
mean,
There's a
okay.
right. Like, what is your balances in a way? That's how I kind of view the question when I was asked that question.
So let me just shoot the shit real quick.
Shoot it.
It's different in different environments. That's just it.
Okay.
I'm not one that wants I don't want my husband, in this case, who's now my husband, but I don't want my husband to just be all about me all the time. And that's really weird because you would think that that would be the case, but that's not the case with me. My husband can be all about me when we're at home, and even then, obviously, a safe balance is necessary. But I'm definitely not one who wants to be consumed by my partner.
And 100% agree.
Yeah, like I like my own space. When we're at home, obviously there's like a level of intimacy where it's just us two and we get to spend quality time together or just live in the same space sometimes, right? Like, fuck it, it is what it is. But for the majority of it, I don't necessarily feel like I need to be his number one priority at all times of his life. Like, that's not who I am.
I agree with that. I agree with it now.
Now,
Because again, I think in views change for myself, and I agree with you. I also think the way I am as a person, I need to have my own space,
yeah,
and we both need to have our own individualities. Meaning, there's certain things that can be separate, like friends. I think like both people need to have their own set of friends, and of course, obviously, in a setting, then you just bring them together.
yeah,
That's totally great. But just like you need your girl time, your man needs your boy time. And that is something I know I respect. Because, that's, you just respect it. I mean, who am I to tell you?
It's hard to get there though. Like, not like, I don't know. I've met a bunch of people who are like, my boyfriend or my husband need to be all about me, 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 and then me, and then maybe you.
But that's a balance off, though.
It's just about people's characteristics, right? I don't necessarily happen to be that way. I very much agree with you. Like, I love that Pablo's all about me when we're at home. But then when we're out with friends, like, he's with his boys or we're out in a group.
Right. It's healthy.
I want him to have, like, separate conversations with people. You know what I mean? Like, just not all about me.
Correct.
And, I also like having my own space, but I think in terms of the role that you play in a relationship, I'm very much of let's be friends and not be so labeled like I'm your wife, therefore I have blah, 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 blah kind of rights. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm jealous. I just think I'm cautious, which is different. Jealousy comes a long way. And it's very intricate, but I would say I'm very cautious where I'll peep game, I'm very observant, I'm very social, and I'm very friendly because I'm trying to peep game, right? I love knowing that Pablo has different friends, girlfriends and guy friends. Like, I'm not the type where I'm like, you're not allowed to have girlfriends because you're my husband. And I should be the only woman in your life. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, Pabs has, his cheeseman time with his lady friends. He also has his cheeseman time with his guy friends. That's a known fact, right? Like, the gents, they talk a lot of shit. You know what I mean? But it's honestly true, right? In the same way that we talk a bunch of shit when we're in girl time.
Absolutely.
And then when we're in guy time, the guys talk a lot of shit, So I don't say I'm the jealous type. I just feel that if I'm getting a hunch, I listen to my gut very often, and sometimes I don't, and it bites me in the ass. But for the most part, you can sense when someone has a different intent with your partner.
100%.
Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. You could just feel it, right? Like, so if I feel that someone is not friendly anymore with Pablo, I'm gonna let him know about it. It's happened once, but it's only been a one-time comment, and I don't have to say anything else about it because the expectation is that he hears my perspective, and what he does with that judgment is up to him, right?
That's crazy. Yes.
I give him full reins and trust of making yourself know, like, that you're doing a good job at being my partner. Like, I don't have to baby you, is what I'm saying. I don't want to be reminding you that I'm your wife all the time. That shit's gonna piss me off.
Yes.
But I am very cautious, right? So I kind of know his friend group. If I find that he's, I don't know, out of character of some sort, or if I find that even with friends, right? Like, if I find that a certain friend is just changing and things that I don't necessarily recognize in their normal behavior, I'm going to say something respectively, right? But I'm going to say something.
It's a no.
Yeah. A mental no.
But like, I'm just gonna.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
peep this. Just watch out.
Right.
I
That's a warning,
yes,
though.
because I did something very similar too.
Right. But that's what I mean. You got to peep game with your partner. It's not about like hounding your partner or no one
No.
come close.
No.
There's no force field around your man or your woman. Or at least this is just my belief. I think everyone should be accounted for their decision making. I'm 100%
Absolutely.
for that. But also, I think that in general, we're adults. Like in this case, Pabs is older than. I'm gonna hope he knows how to hold his own shit down. You know what I mean? Like, and if he loses his way, I'll be there to remind him. Right? That's when I step in. And once you start seeing things that aren't okay with you, you obviously have to vocalize it. But for the most part, I'm just real cautious. Like, and I like him interacting with other people, right? Because then also isolating
too.
yourself is just not it.
For what? And I totally agree
I don't-
because
I
I
don't
have
like
the
it.
same perspective as you. I just, for me, it's something that I don't. I'm taking care of me, so I'm nobody's babysitter and nobody's mother yet. But I'm at the same time, it's like I'm not gonna do that to my partner. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you want them to enjoy themselves.
well, true, but at the same time, I feel like it's so funny. It's something my mother would always say to me. It's like, if you want to be grown, you better act grown
oh my god, that
and
totally is.
it's-
She says that all the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
But in a sense, she's correct. Because if you want to do grown ass shit, then be grown about it, and also do the right things, right?
Yeah, and it's weird because I've also encountered people who are like, "No, when I'm with someone, they need to be all about me," and I'm like, "Nah, yeah," and then that's why you have like
That's the honeymoon phase.
yeah, but not even. Some people are like that permanently.
But think that's not sustainable.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to be like, that's why you have 1 year relationships, 2 year relationships, 5 at most, and that's it. Like, it's never something long term, though they may aspire to long terms.
Perhaps.
You know what I mean?
But it does get boring when it's becoming just one sided, though.
Yo, I think so. I don't know.
It
I've never
does.
been that type. I've always felt that I was independent, so I've never taken that stance. But
Yeah. No, I like
I've
a
known many
balance.
people who have, and that shit just goes down the drain at some point. You know?
I think it's a healthy balance for me. I don't need to be worried that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like, if you don't know how to
too
hold
much
your
work.
own,
That's too much work
again,
for you.
I'm trying to
as-
keep myself alive.
Yo, preach.
Like, I'm trying to keep myself good. I'm doing good by you. All you, pretty much. Also, like, first and foremost, there needs to be trust between
Yeah.
you and your partner, right? Like, me and my partner, it would have to be trust. Now, let's say we all go out and stuff like that. They go, like, you know, unfortunately, I had a long distance relationship before.
But
and
that's a good
the
example.
right, I would trust him. I would trust him. But, you know, at the end of the day, and I would remember always telling him, just like, you know, when you go out and I go out, you know what's best for you. Now, if you fuck up on the line, that's on you. You already know the consequences. I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, this is what's happening. No, you know what to do. You're grown. You know what's right. You know what's wrong.
Yeah.
And the only thing I remember always asking was just like, whenever you go out, just respect our relationship. And that goes for everything, right? Like, and I would do the same for you. But the minute you don't get that and you feel like you said, like a hunch, then all that shit slides.
Well, yeah, because then it's like you doubt every move.
Every single
But
move.
you're right in two things. Number one, there should be some sort of leverage that everyone gets, yourself included, right? Around how you conduct yourself in social environments.
Correct.
Like, that's 100 anywhere. Now, the other part of it is trust, right? Because if you don't trust your partner, even just a little bit, you'll always have self-doubt. You'll always doubt them. You'll always, you won't
Overthink.
necessarily trust the for sure things, right? And that's where self-doubt comes in. But if you know the core essence of your partner, I mean, unless they give you reasons to do other shit, right?
For sure.
But to the extent that, like, I don't know, I can't imagine myself being like, hey, Pabs, you can't have girlfriends. The fuck?
Nah.
Also, like, he happens to work in an environment that is mostly female. So I'm like, it's impossible for me to think that he's going to be like, hey, guess what? My wife isn't allowing me to have friends. Door shut. Like,
Dude, no.
come on.
But that's
Come
just,
on. That's so
but
fucking
also,
stupid.
I don't get that either, right? Like,
But some people do that.
no, that they do that, they do that.
Man, it's
but
crazy.
what is that? Who are you to tell somebody who to be friends with, though?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get that concept.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm gonna be honest, like, with my ex's friends, were they all Einsteins? Not fucking
They
at
look
all.
like Smurfs.
Not at all. Not at all. But is it
But they-
my?
but they
did
don't
I
have
give
to
a
be.
fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the thing. I don't care. That's his friends.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that's your friend and those are the people that make you happy and lift you up, I don't give a shit.
yeah.
I'm just making sure they're actually friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually did something similar because I remember going out because when I would go out, you know,
Yeah.
the good person, we would go to the club and it would just be me and his friends. Again, what do I always tell you? Looking like Snow White with the 7 dwarfs. At a club,
Tall is just tall.
and it's true.
She's literally
and-
tall. So
And I'm tall.
the average Joe is just a smidge
But did I
shorter
care?
than
No,
her.
I didn't care
No, you
because
didn't
I was
care.
having a good time, and then I saw him having a good time. I didn't care,
Yeah, yeah.
and you know what I mean. And I'm all for it. Like I'm just like I could vibe by myself. I could dance on my own. I can
the
make a
robot.
friend.
Mm-hmm.
I can make my friends. I know how to make friends because I'm a social person. But at the same time, like, who the fuck am I to tell you who your friends? And I remember one of the friends would come up to me like, "Oh, you're gonna hate me." It's like, no. He's like, you probably don't want me to hang out with him. I was like, you can do whatever you want with him.
But also, like, how is that an assumption? Someone told me that when I first started dating Pablo, and I'm just like, why? Why are you so insecure that you think I'm gonna hate you for hanging out with who's my dude? You know,
like
no, I'm confident.
I'm
Thanks. Like,
cool.
if this doesn't work out, Pab's lost. No offense, Pab. He's behind this whole camera.
absolutely.
But, like, honestly, like, have self-worth and have self-confidence to just be like, dude, if this shit doesn't work out, all good. I'm gonna move on. It's gonna hurt, but I'm gonna move on. Like,
Yeah.
and I always tell Pabs, I'm
But
like,
no.
it's maybe this is gonna come off wrong. I'm of the idea that, like, if I'm with you, it's because I want to be with you. I don't need anybody.
Amen.
I want to be with someone 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need to be with anybody. I'm self-sufficient. I'm independent. I
Preach.
I have a good, head on my shoulder. So I don't need to be around people. People who need other people, I feel like those are people who rely on, like, status and titles. And yeah, I love saying that I'm Pablo's wife, but that doesn't mean I'm holding that to everyone in every conversation. Watch what you say to my man, because that I'm his wife.
Negative.
No,
Nah.
like, I'm Karen,
Nah,
and that's Pablo, and we just happen to be married. You know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
agree with you.
I
think
don't
that's-
know. I don't hold that like social class.
But then that's like
structure.
micromanaging, and that's something that
I
I'm
don't. Yeah.
time consuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
B, I'm not here to overthink. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
as a female, you already overthink a lot of shit. I don't need to add this to my fucking plate.
This is true.
And at the same time, you a grown ass mofo.
Yeah.
You got it. You know what you're doing. You know what you're doing wrong.
Right, and I'm gonna peep your game
Correct.
too, because I need to know how you conduct yourself.
100%.
Not only your friends, but I need to make sure that you are good in a social gathering. If I see that, I keep doing this. I don't know why.
But it's
But
important to
if-
see how a person acts in a social
Correct.
gathering.
So if you're not coming correct either, we're gonna have a talk about
100%.
it.
Because
Or
right.
you just won't get ass.
But no, and that's something that I should have peeped earlier because the isolation wasn't working.
But and so maybe let's talk about that, right? So you were in, I'll say my situation first, essentially, and this was before Pabs even. Like, I was in a relationship that who was my partner at the time, didn't really like any of my friends, and I was very much a social bug then than what I am now. And so I had Tal, I had a very large girl group, we had a very large guy group at the time, and I had known them since I was in my teenage years, right? So like, there's so much memories and there's so much world between us in the sense that we engage with everyone's family, we would go to parties together, and that just wasn't cool with him. And I'm like, sorry, I'm not leaving my friends because you don't like them. You just won't hang out with me and them together. But I'll make time for you and I'll make time for them, right? And he wasn't about that. And at some point, obviously, it didn't work out, but he kind of tried to, essentially, I don't want to say isolate because isolate is a bad word, but at some point, he was sort of drifting me off to just make him a priority because he felt threatened to a certain degree. And I get that now. I didn't understand that then, but I was just like, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but have self-confidence and also trust me that I'm not going to do anything to hinder this relationship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, also, dude, like, grow a sack. Sorry. But, like...
But it's true. That's another thing, too. Like, you know who you're also getting in a relationship with.
I said that. I don't know how. I'm like, do you know me?
Facts.
Like, I'm very transparent. The world knows this now that we're on YouTube, but I'm very direct to the point. I don't beat around the bush. I do like investigating. I am very curious to, like, when we talk with Tal, talk about Tal's feelings or talk about my feelings. Like, I'm the one who kind of, like, pulls all the feelings out.
No, you're
right?
good at that.
But I'm also one to say the shit the way it is, right? Like, listen, I think it's because of da-da-da-da-da. I'm not here to play around. I don't like it. I think it's a waste of time. And I also think it's a waste of energy, right? You know how to conduct yourself because you're a grown-ass adult.
I'm just taking your word.
I don't need to tell you, hey, you did this and it was wrong. No, you know it's wrong. And now I was just telling you this. People don't give a fuck about what they do, right? Some people just don't care. And like, just because you care, it doesn't mean that everyone cares.
No, it's a tough pill to swallow.
It's a hard lesson to learn. Yeah. But the other part of it is it's actually something very normal. And when you start being with someone who tries to make themselves a priority at all times, that's a red flag because they're not letting you be you and they're not letting you thrive in the environments that you want to thrive in, like friendships, like co-workerships. It got to a point where like I couldn't even talk to my co-workers at the time because this, for the lack of a better word, this nigga would get fucked up. Like, he would just not be good, like that's not okay. I'm like, what do you mean you're here? Also, why do I have to be like monitored?
Yeah, no.
Get out of here. Like, no.
I can't do that.
I refuse.
You should trust me, knowing who the hell I am, what I'm about.
I think it's also an intimidation thing, though. Like, if you feel intimidated by me, that's not a me issue. That's a you issue. Please don't feel intimidated by me because I'm with you. You should never feel intimidated by your partner.
Exactly.
I think once that is off the table, you then realize that you both are equal.
But that's not off the table right off the bat. It takes a while to get to that point.
I think it also just roots from your own self-worth, right? So if I were to come to the table in Pablo's and I relationship and I'm like, well, you don't do this and therefore you don't love me. That's conditional. And that just means I'm unaware of who I am in this relationship. That's self-worth, right? That's knowing who you are to the core and showing that form of you. But if I'm going to be here and be like, you need to do this, that, what am I really doing? I'm conditioning the person to love the type of person that I want to portray, not who I am.
Which then goes that we got to let people be. Because at the same time, you can't let, and maybe that's another argument, but I'm going to show you, I'm not going to tell you how I want to be treated.
That too.
I think there's a difference too, because there also has to be a moral respect here as well.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot. That's not in the table all the time. Because I feel like not only as women that can be very self-centered, but men are very self-centered. And I think in
my previous explanation.
my in my last experience, it was very much like
Egotistical.
it was very egotistical. But the thing is, like, it wasn't told, but he showed me, and that's something that I also myself kind of forgot a little bit about my worth, to the point that I made this person more of a priority, as well as the relationship, which then put myself in the back seat. And, after going through, the breakup and everything like that, I've noticed for myself, I'm like, I ain't putting a man in front of me anymore. Either you next to me or that's it. Because I don't even want you behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, like, that's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm noticing that because at the same time, I'm putting myself first and the relationship is second. It's an addition, not a priority.
Preach.
And again, that was one of my own feedbacks that I had to give myself, because I saw myself conforming. I saw myself willing to give up my city, my family, my friends, just to conform to something that he wanted.
Or that you thought was a top priority at some point.
At one
you
point,
literally
yes.
viewed it completely
I
differently.
did. Because I thought, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, right? Like, this is a priority. I care for this. I'm going to protect it. The only problem is, once again, the person I'm protecting is the person that's destroying the house.
Yeah, you said that also a while ago, but I also want to touch base on one thing, and that's your perspective in a relationship changes. Thank you for the thumbs up.
That's how true it is.
I don't know why that comes up randomly. But what I meant to say is your perspective changes when you're in a relationship in different areas, right? So, for instance, at the very beginning, you said something that was really true, in that you started believing that you weren't the priority, or that you had to make up for putting this relationship as your priority. And it always was, except that you were so intentional about it because maybe you thought that it would be a permanent relationship at the time.
Yeah.
And so you were so indulged in making sure that you knew it was permanent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas I think that also just comes when you encounter someone who's mature. Like, when I first met Pablo, I was mature all the time, and I'm not being biased because it's me. I'm a pretty mature person, but like, he was like, no, you don't need to ask me permission for anything. And because I was so used to this last relationship that was like, you're not allowed to do this, you are allowed to. I went through like a whole culture shock of what it means to be in a relationship, right? And that's why I was single for however many years I was. And, I had a crush here and there, but it was never really like a relationship after that first one. And a couple of years went by before I met Pablo. But he was like, I'm not here to monitor you. I'm not here to supervise you. Like, that's not what a relationship is. And I'm like, oh, shit, you're right. You're right.
It's like having a second mom. The fuck?
Yeah, and like, I already have one that's pretty fucking
I'm
gung ho. I don't need another one.
I don't need another one either.
Like, one and done. So that in itself was just a big eye opener for, you're right. I do need you to be equal to me. Yes. I do need you to just be with me all the time and not be in front of me or behind me, as you mentioned. So the perspective and the parameter of how you dictate your relationship, it's different from time to time. And as you grow with the person, and like I said, I wouldn't have married Pablo anywhere in years 1 to 5. Like, not a shot. Because we went through the age of getting to know each other, hating each other, surpassing those traumas, and then we finally got to a good place, and that's normal, right? Like, I always say, you go through the terrible 2s and maybe the terrible 3s because you're getting to know the person in their raw form, right? So you get to know what their likes are, what their pet peeves are, if it's the same as you. Like, I always used to tell you, right? Like, I hate Pablo 3 days out of the week and I love him the other 4 days. Like, because he would just get me mad. And I'm like, oh, Jesus.
But that's also somebody willing to weather the storm with you.
Correct.
Because,
Correct.
again, when people just give up at the first pebble in the road and thinking that the grass is green on the other side, boo, you forget that you still have to water the other grass.
Yo, and that actually brings up a good point because just the other day I was hearing this story about someone who wanted their partners to just put them as the ultra priority.
24/7?
24 hours, 7 days a week.
That's exhausting.
And I'm like, that's not really going to take you far. Like, it's only going to take that person to the edge, and then they're just going to be like, ah, fuck it.
Well, yeah, because then your person is losing their own individuality.
Or they just may not want to deal with it at some point.
Well,
or
there's always a limit.
They'll see that this is now a negotiation of which they may lose, and they're just like, oh, dead. You know, like, I'm going to terminate this contract, essentially.
And maybe, now, to get your point in this, because and also, an aspect of that, I'm also somebody that, again, probably because, again, as you say, your views start shifting as per relationship you have. And mine definitely have shifted. And I've noticed a lot of things that I was putting a lot more effort than I was receiving. Mm-hmm. But I'm also about to, for the next time, just in my head, I'm like, whatever you give me, I'm giving it to you right back.
Now.
And I'm going to keep it like equal, balanced, and that's it. I ain't doing more than you. You're not doing more than me. I think
I'll dispute that. Or I won't dispute it. I'll show you the other side of that, but okay.
True. And the thing,
I know what you mean.
You know
I'm just
what I
gonna
mean.
elaborate on it real quick.
In that way, and perhaps again, that's just because I felt like I gave a lot.
You did.
I felt like I did a lot, and I didn't get anything. I got
very minimal,
and it wasn't to the point that I don't know. It's just like I don't want to have that feeling again. And I don't want to overdo it again, I guess.
The problem that I think you ran into was that at some point your partner just didn't give a fuck. Can I say this openly? Your partner just didn't give a fuck at some point, and they were just like, yeah, it's
cool.
It's me all the time.
It's always been.
It wasn't as noticeable in the beginning, but then there were different instances where you knew that was happening. You just kind of were like, let me just pass it. Maybe it's just a momentary thing.
Yeah.
And it started becoming a permanent thing, right? Until you were like, yeah, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. And like, I remember you calling me and you were like, this happened. And I'm like, well, you know, I would kind of like try and help you surpass it. I'm like, maybe there's just a bad day happened. Like, everybody has bad days, because I went through that as well. There was like a period of time where Pablo and I didn't see eye to eye for a long time, right? And it's just because we had different priorities at the time, and also, you know, we love our families, and families are our top priority. So there were like other things, circumstantial things that were happening. But I think once you notice that that behavior was starting to overpower your relationship, it's when you're like, red flag here, red flag here. Oh, also last week, red flag there. And it started becoming a bunch of red flags as opposed to like minimal red flags. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's when you were on high alert around, yeah, this is not about me anymore. It never was about me to begin with, but it stopped being about us.
Yeah.
And it's now about that person. And once you started realizing it, the gut feeling didn't go away. Like, I remember you called me one day and you were just like, I don't like this anymore. I just don't like it. Don't tell me why. And I'm like, well, why? I don't know, Karen. I just don't like it anymore.
Because it's like it's something heavy that
and it's,
you know
and it's
what
like
it
anguish,
is.
right? Because you're just like, how do I fix it? One.
Right.
Two, what am I supposed to do how do I handle it? Right. Mm-hmm. And then you start thinking about, well, what is that person going to say? And if they say that, what is that going to do to this relationship, right? So you start sort of self-planning the outcome of whatever kind of dispute this is going to be, and if you even raise those red flags. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the part that I think you realized a little late, but it was also you were very invested. So I always tell you, like, own your feelings because there's nothing wrong with finding out late. I think it's good that you did find out and you addressed it.
I did.
Another thing would be if you didn't address it. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
right.
many people just put that shit to the side and they're like, yeah, well, this is how they are, period.
No, I don't excuse that.
Right. And you did address it. Was it heard? Yes. Was it dealt with?
No, not
No.
at all. It was
And-
like, okay.
And the outcome is the outcome of it, right? And so it takes two, right? But that's what I was suggesting, that things are different in different spaces in your relationship.
For sure. But which is why, like, when I sometimes have to look back, it's because I need to learn from this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to continue whatever certain things I know I kind of did on my end, which is give this person too much of my fucking time. Just next time. And it's not that I don't want to, I'm just protecting myself a little bit more.
Yeah, but you never want to lose sight of it's okay to do a little more for someone today. Like, yes, I'm of the same sentiment that me and Pabs are equal. We're two equal humans who decided to get married, who decided to have this relationship, and we're very happy. Without a doubt, happiest I've ever been. But sometimes one of us will come with 20% energy, and so the other person has to deal with the 80% that's still needed, you know? And I don't want you to think that just because you may have been jaded at some point, that it's only 50-50, if not, I'm not doing this shit.
I get that.
You know what I mean? Like,
I get that.
Once you're in a healthy and mature relationship, you start realizing that obviously my situation is different because I live with Pablo. So once you're in the same space over and over again, like, you have to be able to bring a little bit more energy sometimes. And sometimes you may not have the 50. You may have 30. And they need to bring, I'm saying they, whatever. They need to bring the 80 that's missing. You know what I mean? So, like,
I get it.
That's in terms of everyday routine stuff and, like, completing your life together. But I agree with you in that the 50-50 aspect comes with, like, behaviorism, right?
In
like,
that sense, yes.
Like, I'm not about to be here and be like 90% your fucking, you know, like, firefighter to get you out of different kind of situations because you don't know how to handle yourself. Like, know your limit, right? Know your limit when you're out. Know your limit when you talk to people, and always respect. Always respect me enough to honor this relationship, whether it's you know, a situationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's marriage. It doesn't matter, right? Once you stop that respect aspect, there's really no turning back.
There's no turning back. I agree with you.
You forget about the other person completely, right? And that's why when people like, I don't mean to offend anyone, but that's when people cheat on each other. It's because you really lose that respect, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have that anymore, so you're not conscious of the decision that you're making. And if you are, then you just don't give a fuck, which is also what I told you just a moment ago before this pod. So, you know, it's a lot about that. But yeah.
I get it. I mean, personally, I'm not wired that way.
Yeah.
But so I can't relate. But at the same time, yeah, respect for me in any relationship, in friendship or in a partnership or whatever, respect has to be there. And if it's not there, there's nothing else coming from it. There's no love, there's no friendship, there's no nothing. And I feel like when it comes to in all aspects, and, you know, touching on friends as well, like, also, how do you feel, even though I know what you feel, like, in a way, like, when it comes to other friends coming into your space and stuff like that. And we both do agree that having your own friends is extremely healthy for your mental psyche. Because there's some times that you just got to talk to your girls about. You know what I mean? The same way that guys got to talk to their guys. And it has to be established. But at the same time, I respect that. Now, when it comes to other let's say, my situation in a way. I know that one of the issues that I kind of had before was that I am friends with somebody I used to be with. And I can understand that many see that as a frown upon. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I know myself. And I know that once we decided just to be friends after everything, the boundary was set and has not ever been crossed. And I intended to keep it that way because that's how it should be once everything goes. And also, the person is a great friend. So I'm also, and I know that that was also like an issue for my past. So I understand that, but at the same time, it goes again with the whole trust and respect thing. You know me very well that if I'm in a relationship with you, I will never cross that because that's just not in my nature.
Right.
And I know that that might be an issue for you, but you need to trust me because at the same time, I also don't feel like anybody should tell anybody who you should be friends with. And I'm very true to that because I also know that I won't cross that. But yes.
So are you asking me
Am I-
how I deal with
The situation.
friend dynamics? I'm just
Friend, yeah, me too. I was trying to get to a question.
I heard everything that you said. It seems like you're asking me what
I'm
I think.
asking. Well, I'm asking in a way. Fuck. Hold on.
You got too indulged
I got
in your
too
story.
much of my own shit. But in a way,
Eso salió like it needed to come out. Like
I
you
needed to
need
come. In other words, it's just like at the end of the day, a lot of people like your partner might not like. Let's say like they don't like your friends. That doesn't restrict you from telling them to not be around their friends.
Are you asking me what I think?
I'm asking if you feel that.
Here's how I'm gonna explain this. I'm gonna explain this using my current relationship and a previous one, which we both know of. So when I was younger, I had a partner who we both know. I've addressed him I don't know how many times, whatever. He did not like Tal.
Hated me.
Yeah. Did not like any of my friends. Wanted to sort of crowd me all the time. I don't know why, but whatever. I guess I just wasn't as strong-willed at the time. And I let it happen. I also think I defended my relationship with Talia specifically with him because I'm like, you may not like her, but that's a you issue, right? Like, that's not going to stop me from hanging out with you. And at least I don't think it did. Right? I think we still stayed friends.
I think so.
Very much so. We just wouldn't hang out with him. Right? Like, that was it. You weren't part of the plan. So I'll see you when I see you. I'll do you when I do you. And then I'll hang out with Tal whenever we want to hang out. Right? Like, that's honestly what would happen. So I never put that in jeopardy to begin with. That has always been my law. I guess call it like a standard or a law. My friends are my friends no matter who the fuck I'm with.
Amen.
I hold friendship to the
ultimate
length and hierarchy.
Correct.
100%. I say friends before relationship any day.
I agree. The
Now
same way
my
like bros before hoes, guys.
Yeah.
Well, same for women.
Yeah. But I think also now maybe that's changed because like Pabs is my life partner. But
sure.
I'd say we're both equal, like friends and Pabs, equal playing field. But in that relationship, to my point, he wasn't fond of any of my friends, and I knew very little of his friends because he was just a very isolated person, and I didn't care, right? Because I'm like, listen, if you don't got friends, it's fine. I'm a social bug. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm doing me, clubbing, bar hopping. Like, I was in my young adult phase, so I was really enjoying it. And he was too, which was odd. And I'm like, listen, if you don't have friends, that's not my issue. I know I have friends, and you can either come along and join, or you can stay by yourself, right? Like, it's one of the two. And he opted many times to stay by himself and to sort of push me to stay there. And I'm like, no. Like, me and Tal are going to be out. Most of the time, we would hang out with, like, our moms, or we would hang out with our friend. That wouldn't stop us from hanging out, but I always knew in the back of my head, he's not gonna like it. Did that stop me? Absolutely not. It would never. But I was still mindful of it. Now let's fast forward to my current relationship, which is, I'm married. It's totally different. Pablo's like, when are we gonna have your friends come over? Like, let's make drinks for them, right? We take flights together. Like, we're with the gents. The gents are Pablo's really good guy group. We're with the gents all the time. We go out. Like, it's a total different playing field where he honors my friendships with my people in the same way that I honor his friendships with his people. And there's some intermingle, maybe not 100%, but there's always some intermingle between either I hang out with him as his +1 or he hangs out with me as my +1. And it's fine. Like, we're able to be okay because we both respect the fact that we have friends. And I don't necessarily have to like his friends. I happen to really like his friends. If I see something fishy, I'm going to fucking throw the bait and I'm going to wheel him back in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not, no question. But for now, it's all been a healthy relationship. I think his friends love me. Oscar, tell me what you think. Thumbs up. He says yes. So I happen to be the new integrate. Is that how you say it? The new member of his guy group. I'm the only female there. Actually, I'm not the only female, but whatever. I'm
It's
the one who's
healthy.
around. But it's good, right? So like the other day, Pabs went out. I wasn't feeling well. Pabs went out to hang out with the gents for one of their birthdays. And he got shit-faced. It is what it is. And he went out. He was hanging out. He's like, hey, we're having this kind of convo. I'm like, great. As long as you good, come home fine.
Yeah.
And I'll be there to pick you up. And I went to pick him up downstairs. So, like it's... And in the same way, he doesn't stop me from hanging out with my friends. I certainly don't stop him from hanging out with his friends. Like, it's just genuine love and respect for each other's social groups.
But that's how it should be, I feel. I think the best time in a relationship, you
Yeah.
have to respect that. At the end of the day, you're still your own person before
Yeah.
your partner, and you're going to be your own person after your partner.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? So you still need to keep that individuality. And I personally think in a good, healthy relationship, it needs to be respected on both ends. I didn't receive that type of respect in my last relationship.
You didn't.
And I gave it, I didn't receive it. And that should have been a massive red flag for me there.
That should happen
But,
at the very beginning, too.
Yeah, that happened very much at the beginning. But I still felt like you should be trying. No, believe everybody for the first time. Don't waste your time with that. And now that I'm, pretty much out of it and seeing the benefits of having your friends not necessarily saying, oh, we like him. It just has to be some type of respect and at least a little bit of just getting to know the people that you love, right?
Yeah.
Because if I love you, I want to know the people that you love as well. I just think it's a
Yeah.
mutual...
But even, and that's from the angle of a partner. I think from the angle of a friend, I've had, be straight, I've told you this, I had my reservations of your last partner from the very beginning.
No,
it
it's
doesn't
true.
mean I'm telling you about
No,
it, right?
no.
Because Tal is in a relationship herself. She needs to know how to conduct her relationship. I would never, and I told you this after everything happened, I would never be the person who's like, I don't like this person because 1, 2, 3, he did da to me. Absolutely not. I'll let you figure it out. And then I'll just confirm. I would never stop you from, no. And
True.
I'll just
No.
never stop you or be the hump on the road that prohibits you from moving on. Because if that's who you're happy with, then that's who you're happy with. I don't have to be happy with him. You do. Right? And from a friend perspective, I may not necessarily like this person for X, Y, and Z reasons, but I have my own partner that you may not like, for all I know. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to give up my partner just because you don't like him,
Right.
or because you have reservations, because he loves me, right? And I love him. He doesn't need to love you. You know what I mean? But, like I said, there were reservations from the very beginning. Arguably from the first day I met him. And I didn't say anything about it, and slowly you figured it out.
I figure it out. But now, like I said, like after all that storm passed,
It was
it's
a hurricane.
something. It was something that I also learned that I was like, no, that's important to me. That
Yeah.
my friends are also respected when it comes into a relationship, the same way I gave their respect back. And that's why that's one thing I also pat myself in the back, because I really felt like I was beyond years mature in this whole relationship.
But then also, that's one end, and I'm so proud of you for vocalizing that, because it's hard to do that because you're purposely telling someone they're doing something wrong. And when you do that, the person who's receiving that just seems like they're being attacked, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, there was a lot of promises that weren't kept.
Well,
I
again,
promised to be better, right?
promises, mamases. It's
Right.
just, again,
There was like an intention to be better, but you never saw that action
Not at all.
driven. And getting back to your point about being friends with a previous partner, I haven't necessarily been in that situation because I'm of the belief that once we're done, right? Like I don't need to. I also haven't encountered someone as mature as your situation. I guess it might have been different if I found someone who's mature at the time and I didn't.
it's not valid for everyone, that's for sure.
No, but you're right. I think it's hard not to feel intimidated
Understood,
as the
yes.
current partner, knowing that, let's say in this case, if my partner Pabs and or no Pabs, but if my partner was still friends with their ex, I'd have a problem with it, or at least I'd be on high alert. I'm gonna peep game, right? It's all about peeping game, where how you move
Correct.
and what chess pieces you're moving.
That's all.
You know what I mean?
But if you know how I'm moving,
activity,
right.
right? If I see sus activity, it's gonna be a problem, and I'm gonna make sure you know about it because I just don't beat around the bush, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not a problem, and if I see that there's genuine friendship above all else, it wouldn't be a problem for me, I think. But then again, I've never been in that situation, so I don't know.
I personally don't feel like no soy tan descarada to bring around somebody that I'm messing around the side with I guess that's just not
You
how
have
I
morals?
fucking roll. I don't fuck with that.
You have morals?
I
You
do. I
have
got principles. And
principles?
that's not something that even would sit right with me. I
Yeah.
don't move that way. So
Yeah.
to me, once it's all said and done and whatever, I'm not going to keep somebody around personally or have them in my inner circle if I know they're not genuine.
Right, but that's what I was saying. You happen to find someone who's mature or who was mature at the time.
Extremely.
Right. And that's good. It's rare to find that. So it
is rare, which
it's
is
kind
why
of nice that you had that opportunity, but
right.
not everyone does. And on the receiving end too, you happen to be in a very distinct situation where you were not only in a new relationship, but it was long distance. So you also have to understand that may be intimidating for someone.
Extremely.
But you also made a conscious decision about reiterating and we're the priority. That
For
person is
sure.
done. And it just didn't mean shit to the other person. The other person, I think, was so caught up with, why the fuck are you friends with someone who you were messing around with?
But wouldn't I be able to the same thing since that person had to be around his ex-partner the entire time since he shares a child? I mean, wouldn't that be something similar in my end? But again, at the end of the day, I look at that person and I respect the fact that if you want to be grown, then act grown. The same goes for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know I wouldn't do that, and I would hope that you trust me that I wouldn't do that. And if I do, then it's something otherwise. But I know myself very well that if the relationship is important, just even me saying that I'm in a relationship with you is already already
deal.
rare. It's already a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not in a relationship with just anybody.
Yeah.
So if I'm even consciously doing that and presenting you to friends and family, please note that this is not something I do every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I hold it to another standard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't feel like, again, the same way I don't feel like everybody has the same threshold for friendships. A lot of people nowadays don't have the same thresholds when it comes to relationship. And that's where I feel like when you do date younger, it's just like, it's just not a waste of time, but maybe a waste of time. And it's
I'm
just,
just kidding.
it's
That's messed
not,
up. And
it is
not-
messed
it-
up. But at the same
It
time,
isn't all the time.
not everybody.
Sorry.
Maturity is not, doesn't
That-
have an age.
That was immature of me.
It's okay. But at times I'm noticing that it's just like, I feel like it, I'm not going to say because older men are also too. But at the same time, not everybody has the same principles or thresholds when it comes to certain things. Nobody takes a lot of things serious now. Even friendships. A lot of people don't take a lot of friendships serious.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like I'm not in that category. I don't call anybody a friend, and I can't say anybody a partner and then switch it up next week. Like, that's not how I roll. Call me old school, but
But even look at your case. I mean, just to tap on friendships, you had a really good friend who at some point didn't approve of the way you conducted yourself in your relationship and they decided to walk out, right? Or they told you, choose me. I think they sort of cornered you to make a choice and you chose your relationship. And so now you're not friends with that person anymore, right? It just happens because people feel that they are or they deserve to be a priority or they deserve to mandate that you put them as a priority. And that's not really a friend, right? 'Cause-
hence why they're not around.
Right. But just because I don't like your man, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be like, you know, I don't like him, so leave him.
Hilarious, right? I mean, especially from when the person who's coming from.
Right. And I would never do that, which is why I never said anything to you in the first place. Right? I'm like, Tal's mature enough that she's going to figure it out. If it takes her a while, it takes her a while. But I'm not going to be the one to burst your bubble because you need to figure that out on your own. Right? In the same way that if Pabs were to conduct himself incorrectly, I mean, I'm sure you might have the balls to tell me. I didn't have the balls to tell you at the time, but I'm sure you probably might say, yo, I saw some shit. You got to know. What you do with that information is totally your
Agreed.
issue.
But it's not
I'm
like I
letting you
won't
know.
address it. The same way you
Correct.
also like, I don't know. But I understood it, and I'm going to keep note of it. Because at the same time, I also know that when it's coming from you or anybody in my inner circle, it's genuine. And I'm going to trust that word.
It's
Not
like
to the full
reprimanding.
extent. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not telling me, you should let that go. So, again,
Which happened by this one person.
absolutely.
Right?
Which is why it's not valid, because I don't mind getting some type of feedback or letting me know of something. But you're nobody to tell me anything about what I do. I make my own decisions. And at the
I hate
same
when people
time,
decide for me.
that is,
If there's anything that y'all want to get me pissed about, do not
make a decision.
make a decision for me. I
Yes.
am a grown-ass woman.
Absolutely.
And I was going to say I'm a grown-ass man. I am a grown-ass woman.
Girl. Switching genders.
I will fucking make my own decisions, okay? Nadie me diga nada. I don't want to hear this is what's good. The only person who's allowed to tell me that is my mother. And considerations are driven. Well, moms will always tell you what they
Moms
think.
for sure.
But
Unless I have a
that's
good
it.
argument.
That's it. Nobody else. I would never tell you, you need to make better decisions.
Yeah, no,
I'd
no,
say
no, no,
tell, and if you notice how I triage the situations, I'm like, well, why do you think that is? I try and help you come to that answer.
Conclusion. Right.
I don't tell you what the answer is because that does nothing for you if you don't realize it.
For sure. No, much
You know what I mean? And to my point, I was just at some point was like, what do you think you should do in this case? I could tell you what to do, but your brain doesn't function the way mine does, right? And at the time you were like, no, I'm ready to end this relationship or this friendship who didn't approve or want to be part of this journey that you were in. And I'm like, okay, respected. If that's how you feel, who's going to tell you anything different? You know what I mean? Like, you know your friends. I don't know your friends. You know your friends better than I do. And if that's what you think you need to do, then that's what you think you need to do.
No matter how long you're friends with, I feel like there's always going to be a surprise. And that was a surprise.
Yeah.
I let a lot of things slide that year.
With that friend, yeah.
With that person,
With that
yes.
relationship, mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But I think you were so caught up on making things work with both people
I did.
that it didn't work with any one of them.
Which, you know, at the end of the day, it's
That was
good.
profound. I'm sorry.
It was. No, but it's true.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's just like now, like those, now that they're not in my life, it's just that lineage is just dead and gone and down sanitation. So
Basu.
it just works. And things, that's why in a ways you just kind of, okay, this fucking sucks, but you know what? It's all good. I rather this way than
So with that in mind, what are your standards for like a relationship?
like my golden rules.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
My golden rules.
This is for y'all because I feel like you need to know what your do's and your don'ts are.
Yes.
I need you to do this, and it's not as a form of entitlement. It's a form of setting a guideline for how you're going to conduct yourself in a relationship, right? So like what are your, or give me one.
I have a couple.
Well, all right then.
I think one thing that I learned previously is just like the same thing what you touched on before. If you're gonna make a decision about us, both of us need to be in the conversation.
Ah, that's so important.
You don't make a decision for us. We make a decision for us. And that's one of the major issues I also had with my previous partner. Because I don't feel respected. I feel like I'm told. And I'm not with that.
Yeah.
So yes, that to me, I've noticed that how somebody conducts that, and that shows you how much they respect you as well as the relationship.
Yeah. Mine is all about space. You need to know the space that you're in a fight, in a celebration, in a moment of intimacy, in a moment of isolation. I am 100% gung-ho for knowing what space you're in. Like, I know that my partner needs space if we have an argument. As much as I want to talk about something, my partner doesn't want to. And I have to respect that, right? I have to let them breathe and come back to that situation when needed. In the same way that my partner knows I love talking. I love talking about feelings. I love talking about how we came to this area or this decision or this issue. And they know that I'm ready whenever they're ready, right? So know what space you're in and give your partner that space, 100%. If you don't give your partner that space, or if you don't honor their process or their way of thinking or their method of thinking, it's not gonna work. Not today, not tomorrow, not next year, not
100.
anywhere.
100.
It's just not. You may not like the way they think, but guess what? They're not you.
Exactly.
And if you want to look for someone who's just like you, that's just gonna get boring. Just me.
Yeah, you're right, actually. Another one I have is respect for each other, especially when it's do not show disrespect in public or make a scene.
Yeah.
Holy shit. There's one thing I do not fucking fly with. And I see it a lot. Like, there'd be times that I would go out and I would go out with friends and stuff like that, or different types of group, and I would see that disrespect or like somebody just putting their partner down in front of everybody. Oh my God.
That's my biggest pet peeve.
That is my massive biggest pet peeve. Like, I don't see that, because to me, it's like, you do that in front of people, you're inviting everybody else to clown him, or you're inviting everybody to disrespect him,
or just to know your dirty fucking laundry. No one needs to know.
Go do laundry, bitch. I ain't doing it for you.
And also, I think in general, like, you never want people to know what your real issue is.
Exactly.
Because then people start judging.
Talking.
Because then people feel like they have the right to judge.
Or to say something
Or
to
say
you.
something to you or to anybody else. Like, then all of a sudden your vecina knows.
You're going to be like, oh my God, did you see that?
That happened to me just a while ago. Not because we were in a fight, but someone had made a scene in a public place, and we were like, yeah, let's creep out this way and let's get the fuck out
not
of here.
everything's going well.
Trouble in paradise.
Honeymoon phase over?
No, but been over. But yeah, like it's
No, but it's nobody's business.
Yeah,
nobody's business.
You can't ditch out your dirty laundry.
Not at all.
Don't
Don't give people reason to talk shit about your and kind of wishing it. I mean, and then I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, mal ojo, mal de ojo, bad eye, or something like that. As superstitious or not superstitious, I'm a little bit superstitious, and that
a lot.
Okay, I would say a little, but okay,
No,
moderate.
No, a lot.
I don't. No, I don't want to give people reasons. And so, like, to me, it's like we'll handle our shit
because it fucks up your reputation.
Yeah,
to a certain degree, or it like taints it. You know what I mean? It
taints it, but also I just don't. It's not cool.
Yeah, because no one likes to be spoken about.
Of course not, especially in a negative way. And already wishing.
Some people think that they're showing authority, or they show that they're up one from their partner by doing that. But you look real dumb too. So if this is something that you're doing, stop. You don't look cool.
You're not winning.
You don't win, because at the end of the day, you're spoken about for being a ghetto thought. Right?
And then it's basically, then not only that, then your man is being pretty much shunned, and or a woman, either one. Let's say like a woman just pretty much whatever, your partner. And at the same time, it's like, well, someone can clown them. Yeah. And then that brings down the ego, especially how sensitive the person is, right? Because sometimes egos can be everything. And unfortunately, in certain situations, ego is everything.
Yeah.
And if you ruin their ego in front of their friends or in front of their family, you're not winning.
Yeah.
You're just pretty much digging a bigger hole for yourself, which is why at times, like, again, even though you might have issues, have that shit at your house.
Oh my God, I have a story. So I have a friend who is married now, and I remember this one time I was kind of getting to know their partner little by little, right? I've never been the type to like know everything about everyone as much as I would love to, but I respectfully, whatever you have with your partner is your issue. I don't need to know every hair and every square, maybe not even with you actually. But I was getting to know this person's partner, and they were just like cynically saying something funny, and like everyone in the room was like, ha ha, I know. And it was something about like a chore that my friend didn't know how to do. And I wasn't good with that. I'm like, So instead of laughing, their partner was just like, you didn't think that was funny? I'm like, no, because that's why you married that person, right? You should have known who you were marrying. I'm not here to fulfill a specific role. Like, if I'm your husband or I'm your wife or I'm your partner, we're not telling my friend group what I'm good and what I'm bad at. I'm like, that's not cool. And I remember this person's partner was just like, just kind of like stayed quiet. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to leave. I'm like, anyway, they'll have a good night. But I made a point, right? And my friend afterwards told me that there was like this huge conversation about it. I'm like, dude, I am never going to agree with something that hurts you. Never.
Is that at her own expense or his expense?
Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. But
yeah, no.
I'm like, hell no. And I'm like, first of all, I will always defend my friends to the death. But also, I just think it's not good look. It's not good looks for like your partner to talk trash about you, even with the friends that know that's the issue.
100.
Like, just because I know, let's say, just because Talia knows that I enjoy cooking, it doesn't mean it gives Pablo the right to be like, oh, yeah, she doesn't know how to do this dish, this. No, it doesn't give anyone the right to do that. Right.
That's also part of disrespect.
Correct. But it's just things get said, and that's why I was to the point of like dirty laundry, exposing dirty laundry. Yeah. You don't do that shit.
No.
Or you don't do it assuming that people will agree with you because they know it's true too. Mm-mm. Nuh-uh.
Don't give it that satisfaction.
No, and it just spoke very low of that person at some point. It's now way better, right? But at the time, I was just like, yeah, no, I don't agree. I don't agree, right? Like I always tell you, or at that time I used to tell you, this person should know this about you because it's very obvious.
True.
Your flaws.
Yes.
In the same way that your virtues are very obvious, like it's no secret. You wear your heart on your sleeve. Talia feel whatever y'all feel about 10%. Talia feels at 100. Like feels very strongly. You're just a very strong feeling kind of person. So if you feel sad, you feel very sad. If you feel happy, you feel ecstatic. Like it's never a medium, right?
Yes.
And that's great. But like that's the point of not showing the flaws or not showing like no one wants to see your dirty hamper. Not one bit.
It's not cool. And also, Jesus, like, figure it out.
Like, stop taking this opportunity to like dish your partner because that shit is
Exactly.
not looking good for you.
And
You're
I'm-
not cute.
Exactly. But you know what's so crazy? As much as I enjoy drama, because I do, can't sit here and shit. But it's not a good look when it's like your closest people. It's like, yo, don't do that shit. Like, don't, nah. Go have a conversation over there. Talk it out. And I would see that from my closest loved ones. I would see how like someone would dog down their own spouse, and that would just piss me off. Because in my head, at one point in my head, I'm just like, you weren't even raised like that.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you doing that? Because you're not even setting a good example for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you're also hurting your person.
Mm-hmm. And it stings because if someone feels exposed, they're never going to get over it because it's always
Exactly.
going to be used as ammo right the fuck back.
Yeah, nah.
Mm-mm.
No,
I went through that
no,
shit.
no.
Oh my God. Remember the story that I told you that I left my partner with his family at the time because they said some dumb shit?
Mm-hmm.
I left his ass in Far Rockaway. No, literally.
Good.
Because you want to expose me? I'm the one who
Bet.
took you here, right? Drop your ass off. I'm dropping your ass off. I left. As for another story that I think I told. I don't know if I told that fully, but you know it.
Speaking of that, we're still talking about golden rules. I wanted to touch base on this because I had a really good conversation a couple of weeks back with an uncle of mine and my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, for me, they still have a beautiful relationship, and that's one of the couples that I actually look up to.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that they've been 30 years strong and honestly happily in marriage still together. And I actually asked him, what are the rules that you also applied for your marriage? Because he even told me straight up, for the first couple of years, the 4 years, they weren't getting it together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They had
That's
some
normal.
trouble. They had, same as what you said, the terrible 2s, the terrible 3s. And they went through it. But right before they said I do, they were like, well, we need to do something about how we're going to conduct ourselves when it comes to marriage. Now that we're going to take the next big step. So I kind of just want to touch base of what the rules that he applied to his marriage and that has helped him to be 30 years strong. I mean, believe it or
This
not,
is
it's very
from
simple.
his perspective
This is his
specifically.
perspective.
Or
He
their.
told me.
Mm-hmm.
This is his.
Mm-hmm.
These are
Just-
his
I
rules
just
that he
wanted to
has with my
establish.
aunt, and they have not ever not, like pretty much they've always done the rules,
Mm-hmm. They've always followed through.
always followed. Number 1, no lifting of the hand in any argument. Also, no cursing at each other when it comes to an argument.
That's pretty hard.
That's a hard one. But it pretty much in a way it's like, you stupid bitch. Like, it's very much like, he gave me that example too. Like, he was like, when we're having an argument, we always have to pretty much remind ourselves that it's not you versus me, it's you and me versus a problem. And I've heard that before. But I'm like, no cursing. Okay, understood. Even though I gotta say I could
Well,
do
one
that.
thing, you can curse in the conversation, but cursing at someone,
At
is
someone.
very different.
Absolutely, like
Right?
cursing.
Like,
their
I'll
name
find
and
myself,
shit.
because I just have that kind of vocabulary.
Same.
Whatever, it is what it is. I have that kind of vocabulary, whereas like Pabs doesn't. Like, not one bit. Especially in a serious conversation, it will never slip. Like, he is very conscious of the words that he uses, and he's normally the one who like actually speaks in a much lower tone on purpose. So I'm just like, why are you quiet? Right? Like, I'll just be pissed that he's not raising his voice, because when I'm in that element, I tend to raise my voice, not raise it like yell, but I tend to speak very passionately about whatever the issue is. And he purposely finds it much easier to like channel a lower voice like this. He's like, Karen, but I don't want to. And I'm like, yeah, I know, right? And so it's a conscious
hear it,
decision.
yeah.
It's a conscious decision of like cursing words, right? And I'll
True.
include that in my vocabulary. I just won't be like, you're a fucking da, da, da. Right? I would never. That's too much.
And as a person, also, like, of course, when I see red, I see red. But I'm also trying to change my tactic
Yeah.
of, in other words, change my argument. Still have the argument, but I want to change the way it's how I express myself. Because that 0 to 100 does not work for me anymore. And which is why, in a way, the way I conducted myself in the last experience I had with a partner, I didn't raise my voice or curse that person out once. Even when I was addressing an issue. It's, again, maybe I should have, but looking. But in a way, I was proud of myself that I was able to conduct that way because of the love and respect I had for that person once. So it's very, I could understand that, but again, it's not for all situations. Because, something could piss you off. And
It just takes one thing.
it just takes one thing.
All right. What's the next one?
Number 3, don't bring up old fights when fighting.
That's hard.
That's a hard one.
It's only if it's used as a comparison, right? Like, I feel, and this actually happened a while ago. I was just really pissed about something, and I brought up a previous situation because it was happening again. So I'm like, dude, we got over it this time, or like, why is it happening again if we already addressed it?
Right.
It depends how it is. It's not used as a form of attack, but rather as a form of reference. And
I agree.
yeah,
It's pretty much comparing what your actions were before and what you're doing now. It could be, but it's also to address maybe in certain situations that is very hypocritical.
yeah, that's one way of looking at it. But I think in general, if it's used as a reference, I think it's cool. I'm sorry, this is just me putting my cuchara in.
I mean, but it's, again,
Yeah.
everybody has their own ways. But I also understand that bringing up old fights. But I think in a way where I kind of disagree is that if somebody's acting this way towards me, but then they act very different the last time, I just kind of need to see some ownership. Because then I will reference
It's a reference.
that you didn't fucking act that way the last time. So it's funny that you want to apply it to me now. And that's where I say...
My point exactly.
So, yeah, it's a hard one, but I think you just got to do it strategically. Number 4, say goodnight and always kiss.
Oh, wow.
No matter, I just remember it was like, we were mad, we wouldn't speak to each other, but the one thing I know that we made sure we did was say goodnight. Even if it's goodnight. Just like... Even though you're fucking fuming, but in a way, he's like, because at the end of the day, sometimes when you go to sleep, but you say that before you go to sleep. At least end the day with that note of saying goodnight and giving a kiss goodnight.
Wow.
Or just one of them.
That's very selfless.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, one thing he was referencing, because, he's been going through, they've been going through a lot. We've been going through a lot in the family. And, he was very much a strong pillar for my aunt. And, there's sometimes that there's a lot of disagreements. A lot of times that, one, like you said, somebody has to give a little bit more because somebody else is not giving enough. And you're going to have to balance it out. And I totally understand that. I just think that that's not referenced in the beginning stages of a relationship.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
you
think-
don't know that until shit hits the fan.
Understood. And I
All-
think that's
on, like, all
where,
levels. Yeah.
in a way, I wasn't clear with that. That's what I was referenced. Like, if I'm going to, in the beginning stages, I see you doing this and I'm pretty much keep up doing everything, that's not going to work for me. Like, I just...
Yeah. I agree.
But when it comes to this situation, when you're 30 years strong, you know, I get that balance because you already know your partner for many years. And yeah, there is going to be some bad times. It's going to be fucking life situations that you're going to have to go through that you really do have to pick up that person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I just absolutely loved and admire from him, seeing how he was a massive pillar to my aunt during her really dark times. And that's what he said. Like, there's sometimes, if you think a marriage is perfect, it's not. You just... But there's way to handle it. And, you know, even when you're angry and you want to fucking kill that person, just say goodnight and give a kiss and that's it.
That's a hard one.
It's a hard one, but that was said. And number 5, the last one, always sleep in your bed.
That I attest to. That's like maybe
Always
a
sleep
good
in your
cardinal
bed.
rule here.
Yes.
So.
No matter what, never sleep in the couch.
Unless you
that.
accidentally fall asleep, but then
No,
eventually
for
you get
sure.
picked up. You get picked up
Exactly.
a few hours later, then that's fine.
Right.
But not permanently or every time that you get into a disagreement.
Right. When it comes to, I think these are rules of like, when it comes to a disagreement and argument,
Yeah,
most importantly. But when it comes to that, it's just like, always sleep in your bed. No matter how angry you are, don't send them to the couch. Neither you or him should be going to the couch. Just sleep in your own
Why is
bed.
it always the couch? I always found that so...
Because it ain't the floor or the seat, Karen. I mean, like, that
yeah, I
ain't
don't
comfortable.
know. I guess.
You fall asleep on the couch outside.
Every night. Every night until Pablo's like, hey, it's midnight. Let's go.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. This is... It was
Yeah.
funny because just having that conversation with him, I was a bit annoyed at how simple the rules are.
Yeah.
But very, very hard to apply. But I think...
Hard to maintain.
And hard to maintain. He said
Yeah.
it. They do it to this day. And when sometimes like a word was slip or cursing, they will call the person out. Remember, no cursing at me.
But that's like heavy open lines of communication, right? And obviously him being 30 years or them being 30 years strong obviously merits you having that sense of honesty. But like, for instance, I don't know, I'm going to put myself as an example because who else? Me and Pabs have only been married for a couple of months by label, right? But we've been living together for 3 to 4 years now. It's hard to do that at the very beginning because you want to state your case. It's all about stating your case. And we've now gotten to a point of having, like, not having a need to state the case, right? Like, just, this was done. It wasn't cool. We're either going to fix it or we're going to keep being mad, right? And so it's just the obvious. It's obvious what has been done has been done. And if it merits another conversation, stop playing dumb. You know what I mean? Like, it's obvious.
It's obvious.
Does it happen? Absolutely never. I feel like we're in a place where we've kind of gotten over it. And we don't have kids. We don't have pets. Like, we don't have things to argue about at the moment. So we're just enjoying life at the moment. But, you know, those are things that are hard to sustain. Like, the no sleeping in the couch, 100. That's like one thing I don't allow. And if that means that I will take my ego out of my personality for just that one time, I'm just like, no, you need to come sleep in the bed, right? Like,
there you go.
It's our space, and that's that selfless moment that I'm telling you.
But
right?
there you go. That's it. That's what it is. It's
And sometimes
putting
it's him too.
it's literally putting your egos to the side for the
Yeah.
greater good
Yeah.
of yourselves.
For sure.
Because
But, you know, they're such an example, too. And I think they're just very good communicators at this point. Even in general, like, the
very
the
good.
last time that I saw them for your birthday, you could tell, right? Like, they're just at a different playing field than many people.
Yeah, but you know what the beautiful thing is that that's what I want, right? I see that I'm
Yeah,
just
but that
like,
takes time. You can't assume that that's going to happen
no,
up
I'm not.
front.
I'm not. I know it's not gonna take him, but at the same time, you found a partner that's willing to weather the storm, just like they found each other to willing to weather the storm. I want someone that's willing to weather the storm. I'm not perfect, just like I know the other person won't be perfect. But at the same time, it does take work. This is not overnight, and that's the thing. You know, as long as you water the grass one day, I water the grass the next day. That's how a garden and botanical garden becomes a beautiful
Right, but that's
place to
like the
be.
70-30 thing that we were talking about earlier, or like
Right.
the 80-20.
I'm all
That's
for
where that
it.
comes to play, because you will need to be able to find that selfless point of view, or find that ego needs to be put at rest just for that 1 minute, right? Whether it's something that's happening that's a very sad moment in your life, or whether it's something that's happy, right? You still need to be able to monitor the actual priority at stake.
Agreed. I just don't think it should be applied in the beginning of the relationship when you're just starting to get to know each other. You know what I mean? If you're not consistent in the beginning, this won't continue.
Yeah, but someone can be placing a consistent facade. You might believe it because you think it's consistent.
Well, that's why it takes a little bit of a time to get to that point. That's why, you know, as much as I got a false interpretation of that, at the same time, he couldn't uphold it.
I think it was genuine. I think that person just didn't want to engage in your social area.
Agreed. But the thing
That's
is,
a
that
conscious
takes
choice.
a time.
Yeah.
That takes time to see if you're okay with that.
Hmm?
So when you start kind of seeing, I guess, your full pause in the beginning, you won't want to, you can make better decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, instead of me saying, giving that benefit of the doubt, because at this point, I don't believe in this whole benefit and the doubt thing. People know what they're doing,
Yeah.
and that they're going to do what they want to do, and you're just going to have to accept that. And I'm not going to be, oh, maybe because it was a Wednesday and they were tired. No, fuck that. It's not happening anymore. Like, I'm taking people how they are and how they present to themselves, and I'll make a decision after that how I feel about it. I'm not going to be like, well, they're just having a bad day. No, and I'm just done letting things slide, because then it's a waste of my time when I already know that's not going to work for me. And maybe that could be a little bit too structured, but I just feel like at times you do have to put your foot down in certain things that you know what's your standards and what things are not going to fly. Like, I'm not going to let somebody just come in and be like, and then a week hiatus and then just pop in like no consequences. That's not how it works.
It's also about understanding who your partner is, right?
Again.
Like, not trying to come across as someone who you need to follow my rules kind of thing, but rather just accept what my expectations are, and as I'm going to accept what yours are. Excuse me. But yeah, I agree.
Just take people
Your
how
uncle
they
and your
are.
aunt are great. Let me just say that. They're so fun.
What?
So fun.
They're such a great time, and
They're
that's
cool.
what's done. And
They're
then-
besties.
And they're friends, and you can see it, and you can see the amount of love, and you can see the amount of respect that
Yeah, you
just
could see the
eludes
respect, for sure.
everything, and that's something that I'm just like,
If they're watching, hi.
and it's something that
Thanks
I
for
was
being
just
an
like,
example.
yeah, there's such a fantastic example. Me and my mom always talk about it all the time, because it's such a great energy to be around, and I just love being around them. And it's just like, yeah, when it's fucking done right, it's done right. And that's something that I'm just like, okay. Yeah. It's just, that's it, you know?
So how do we want to end this? Do we want to end this on a cheers for the future? Do we want to end this on y'all should take notes? How do we want to end this?
I don't know. I just said, I pretty much say, listen, this is a quick advice-y. I think overall, when it comes to in a relationship or any relationship, just it goes back to the most essential rule. is being yourself and understanding yourself in every situation, and understand that you plus another person, when it comes to either a friendship or a partnership, you're very important, and those lines shouldn't be blurred. And at the same time, be happy where you are, and be happy that what you're adding to this relationship, and just keep that standard. Like, never put anybody in front of you, because at the end of the day, no one's going to put you as a priority except yourself. And that's a given. So
Amen.
it's you, and then your partner or your relationship or your kid or whatever, etc. But you need to be first. And it goes back to the same example that I did in the airplane. When you can't save anybody if you don't have your mask on first. And that's kind of how I feel about it when it comes to everything now, because it's true. I can't help anybody if I'm not good. And that goes to a relationship as well. So always understand who you are, always understand what you bring to the table, know your worth, and follow suit with that. And then, you don't ever be secure with yourself, because then that reflects on your relationship, to the point that you don't have to babysit somebody or be somebody's mother and let them know what they have to do with it. No, they're grown as well, just like you're grown.
We're all grown.
We're all fucking grown. And everybody knows what they're doing. So let people be. And as you can see everywhere on the internet, if they wanted to, they would. And if they won't, they won't. And yeah, that's just the essential.
That was a great monologue. I'm serious. That was really great. I don't have anything else to say. You said absolutely everything. No, absolutely not. That was a really great.
Really?
Yeah. The only thing I guess I could add is just honor your partner and honor their process, right? Everyone has a different way of dealing with things. And what I've learned in the 11 months of being married is that we all have a different way of thinking. And your ways may not be the correct way all the time. For you it is, right? But for others it may not be. So in lieu of all of what we've spoken about today, making sure that you honor your partner in the way that he or she performs and exposes their points is really important, because at least it allows you to know that they're being genuine, right? Like, once someone starts doing what you want, it's not genuine anymore, because it's what you want.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
I'm not going to tell you how to love me.
And similar to what you just said, yes, the priority is important, but I also think honoring your partner is also important, because while it is about you, it also is about them. And I'm not saying to make yourself equal to them all the time. Obviously, someone will always take precedent and priority. But in addition to that, I think you also need to just maybe not accept, but also not expect people to work around your workflow. Like I said, we're all different, and it's important to be able to learn through that process as well, right? Like, some people just think differently. Some people act differently. Some people make other people priority. Like, their prioritization is different. So, yes, be a priority for yourself. Yes, know your self-worth and be confident in who you are.
Know your
but
needs.
also be confident in addressing the concern, in accepting that person's way of processing, in accepting that there will be times that you don't agree on how people make decisions, what decisions they make, when they make them. It just isn't necessarily a rule book that there's a one way to do one thing and one way to do the other. It's everyone has their own way, you know?
There's always a gray
and
area.
it's like your self-confidence will come to the forefront when you're accepting of that.
Exactly.
You know?
It's very important.
And then hence 30 years pass by, and then you're your aunt and your uncle in a relationship where you have these rules or guides. They're not rules, right? But they're guides to help you live a very happier life, and I think one that's more accepting.
And a respectful one, because at the end of the day, there needs to be respect for yourself, as well as your respect for your partner and respect for any relationship you have. And that's just the threshold. And you will succeed because your intentions will forever be genuine.
Totally.
And that's honestly the essential thing, and it's important because if it's not genuine, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, but that comes through. So
Not for everyone.
it'll come through eventually, whether you
Right.
like to see it or not.
But as long as you know your intentions,
Yeah.
that's all that matters. If I know my intentions are good, just like I know your intentions are good, this is going to flow. And again, everybody has their own ways, and we're just going to have to respect it. But your intentions need to be clear on your end. And again, you can't control every situation. You can only control yourself. And that's why it's best to know your needs instead of demanding it from another. They're going to give it to you if they wanted to.
Well said.
Pretty much.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you heard it from us. We love y'all. Thank you so much for joining us in our comfy couch. We hope to see you soon. And again, like, subscribe, notifications, you know the deal. Follow us on our social media on Instagram and now YouTube. And we hope to see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.